Welcome to the B-Sides and Beers podcast.
Welcome to B-Sides and Beers, episode 44. Tonight we're looking into Pearl Jam's 1991 debut album, 10. How are we doing tonight?
Yeah. Dynamite. How are you feeling?
How about you?
Oh, doing good, man. This last 2 weeks, I've just been cramming and trying to dig into these couple next topics here and deal with studio renovations, which is almost done. Yeah.
It's looking good.
It's getting there, man. I'm basically, all I got left is baseboard, trims, and cosmetic stuff. So
Right on. Yeah, it looks great back there.
wow, I got to cover up all that insulation with some nice cloths and make it look all pretty.
And
I thought you were painting it all red.
Initially, I was going to, but the amount of work that would have been involved of having to prime everything and do 5 or 6 coats of red just to make it work. No, I did gray with red highlights everywhere that I could. So
just put a red bulb in somewhere.
Oh man, I know you won't be able to see this on the podcast, but I've got lights in here that work on a remote control.
Whoa,
that I can
everyone.
turn red, man.
He just made his lights red with a remote control.
I can go red. I can go green. I can go whatever that is, blue.
RGB, my friend.
I can go
RGB.
Friggin' purple. I got it all, man. I got it all.
Wow, it's a friggin' nightclub in there.
It's mood lighting, pal. Mood lighting.
You need a disco ball.
yeah, mirror ball.
I really do.
Mirror ball.
It's on the list. We'll figure something out.
Sweet.
Yeah, it looks good. How does it sound in there?
Oh, it's awesome. There's just a little bit of weird echoes, when you're doing some high end clapping just to test it. But for the most part, it's not bad. So
And what can you hear from outside?
very little. The only way sound is getting out of this room is through the door, and yeah, it's not much, man. This is a bunker. So
Did you get that venting thing figured out?
no, I'm not venting anything. Fuck it. I'm just
Oh, I
leaving
thought
it
you
blocked
had
off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
no, I was
Yeah,
going to. I'm just going to leave it. So
just shove some insulation in there, call it a day.
don't even need that. I have no vents in this room. I didn't build anything in. So
Oh, okay.
hopefully nobody closes my door while I'm in here for too long, because then the air will run out and I'll probably die. But you won't hear a damn thing.
Oh my God. So should we start with drinks?
Let's do
Talking
that.
about being locked in a dungeon.
Let's do that. It's not a dungeon. It's a bunker. It's a bomb shelter, man. Come on.
Right.
Of rockness.
Dane, why don't you kick it off there?
Let's kick it off with some Tin Roof.
Rusted.
Tin House. Tin House Brewing. I thought you had one of these, but it was Tin Shed.
No. Oh, me? No, I don't
Yeah.
think so. That doesn't ring a bell. I don't think any tin.
Tin Whistle.
Tin
It
Whistle.
was,
Tin
you had
Whistle.
like something from Tin Whistle, and I was like, that just rolls off the tongue.
That was it.
But so this is Tin House Brewing out of Poco, and I'm drinking a Lowell. Excuse me, a Lowell. I already can't talk. It's freaking 5 minutes in. Low Knoll dry hopped lager. That's a hard. Those two words together. Low Knoll.
Low Knoll.
Low Knoll.
Yeah.
Low Knoll. But you see that K in there, and you're just like, oh. Dry hopped lager. It is a light, easy drinking lager with a crisp, hoppy finish, and I must say that's a good description. And yeah, what are we at here? It's like a 5.5 or something like that. But Yeah, not bad. After that, I have a couple of my favorites. I've got a Jagged Face IPA from Mount Aerosmith, and from Beachfire Brewing. I've got a red ale, an Ember red ale. So
Can I see those cans?
yeah,
Please?
yeah, sure. So Mount Aerosmith out of Parksville and Beachfire out of Campbell River.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those cans in my neck of the woods, man.
Yeah, well, geez, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of things being transported right now, I
No,
guess.
even these,
Even on a good day.
yeah, pre-COVID,
Yeah.
post-COVID, yeah, all the craziness is
I think
happening.
anything made in BC would be.
Sprinkle on some natural disasters and gas shortage,
Oh, it's
toilet
a little,
paper
just a
shortage,
little rain, whatever.
little rain. Yeah. So that's
Nice.
me.
Cool.
Excellent. Michael.
Cool.
Michael,
I have.
Mr. Topolinsky.
Yeah, let's do this. I've got. I have 4 this evening, but 2 of them I'm saving for our next round because this is just how we're recording tonight. So, the first one that I have is actually a Crown Royal. It is a cranberry apple premium whiskey cocktail, which is delicious, and it kind of tastes like Jolly Ranchers apple. Remember those candies?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Jolly Ranchers, man. Yeah. And the other one is an Old Faithful of Carlsberg Danish Pilsner.
classic.
Never
Oh,
go
yeah.
wrong with that. So
Classique.
that's what I got.
Nice.
I was pretty stoked because I've mentioned on here before that I've wanted some more sampler packs, like with that in 4-packs or like 6-packs, right? Like instead of having 4 tall boys of the same thing, it'd be nice to mix it up, or like just have singles, right, to be able to mix and match. That would be awesome. But anyways, this Cannery Brewing out of Penticton, they came out with a 6-pack of just like regular size ones, but 2 of each. So there's 3 cans, and since we're gonna split this up, I'll start with the first one because this is the one that I was most excited about. It's the Naramata Nut Brown Ale, and
Cool.
I was hoping this was going to be like a Newcastle kind of thing because it said English style brown ale is an Okanagan classic. Chocolate biscuit and caramel malts provide rich, complex flavors. So, and it's good. Like it's not the same as Newcastle, but it kind of tastes like it has that kind of malty, chocolatey kind of taste to it. So it's good. And this can is really cool. It's like a whole kind of wraparound of the whole, I don't know, Skaha Lake maybe. Is that what that is? Because this is in Penticton, but it's a pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So Cannering.
Probably Okanagan looking north or whatever.
Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking on this first round. And I'm going to save the other ones for the other ones. So, but spoiler alert, they're from Cannery Brewing Company because I finally found a mixed pack and I was pretty stoked about that. So thank you, Cannery Brewery. Doing more of this. I encourage more of these companies to do that because I'd like to sample all of your offerings rather than 4 that I may not want to drink 4 of.
Yeah.
Well, obviously someone's listening and they made your dreams come
Maybe,
true.
and
so.
thank you very much, Cannery Brewing. Yes, you listen to the podcast. I get to drink your beer on here and talk about it. And so far, it's excellent. And as a fellow Newcastle fan, Michael, this is a good second. Like this is excellent.
I will definitely be hunting it down. Like quite a few, I have not seen that brewery in any of my stores yet, but I know there's probably one in town that I have not checked. So
Yeah, and like this has been around since
that'll be next on my list for sure.
2001. And I'm going into the liquor store finding new breweries all the time. Like, I'm thinking like we've been doing this for a year and a half. We've had repeat breweries, but like not a lot of repeat brews. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I'm finding always something new that I could buy, you know? So,
Right.
and that's good. That's encouraging.
Keep it coming.
Tan.
Well, before that though,
Yeah.
should we tell people where to find our shit and do the things and the stuff if they haven't and all that?
You're keep it rolling. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing
man.
it.
Go.
That's the extent of what I got. Things and stuff.
You started it. You started it, but he's talking about sharing this, folks, and he's talking about spreading the word, and he's talking about making sure that you share it as much as you can, because we want to keep drinking beer and we want to keep talking about music and we want you to keep listening. So please do
There's
all
a
that.
website, bsidesandbeerspodcast.com.
Yeah,
Share it.
and all the socials.
All of our stuff's on there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Woo! Crushed it.
Oh yeah, that's it, man. That's it. It's real. It's real.
Oh man, we're professional.
Hell yeah.
Gall darn. Take notes, everyone.
Yep. This is why we get paid the big bucks.
All right.
Look out, Joe Rogan.
I'm still alive.
Pearl Jam 10.
The voice, I mean, like, you could think of it either way. Cobain or Vedder. And I think Vedder is the voice of this generation. I think, like, if you, it could be, you know, Staley. And now I'm just like talking a bunch of BS because, like, but I think Vedder, when everyone thinks about grunge, like, it's that, and that's Eddie Vedder. Right?
You know what? I'll go you one better. Maybe it's Temple of the Dog, because then you have both the mix of Chris Cornell wailing over top and underneath, and you have Eddie Vedder still doing his yeah. Maybe it's the mixture of both of those, right? Like, you kind of have two of some of the best singers of this era, definitely. Yeah.
Yep. That has to be the one that kicked it off. I mean, the album that pushed everything into the forefront was Nevermind, but if you had to pick one that, you know, what's the word, quantify it or whatever, the scene, it would probably be Temple of the Dog with Cornell and Vedder.
It's difficult, though. That's a different, you know, when we're talking about Cobain in the mix there too, right? Like, okay, if we're talking about lyrically, you know, talented, that's debatable, right? Like, it's a very fine line between, you know, I don't know if you can call, yes, like Chris Cornell is a better vocalist than Kurt Cobain was, but the way Kurt Cobain did it and the way it was all put together, maybe that was the voice of the generation too. I don't know, right? The screaming, I don't know. Maybe that.
It depends what you're looking for. If you're shopping for a classic car that doesn't need a lot of repairs and stands the test of time, you get yourself an old Mercedes SL 500 something convertible, right? It's going to be reliable, dependable. But if you want something fun, whatever, you get yourself like an Alfa Romeo, and it might fucking, you know, it's got some quirks to it. So honestly, I think 10 is the one that stands the test of time. It's just such a well-written and balanced album, where Nevermind is this kind of like weird, you know, crazy anomaly that happened and really did spark things off. But 10 is just so well done.
But without Nevermind, 10 wouldn't have reached. It wouldn't have come to the forefront as to the level that it was. I mean, there was. You look at music and how grunge sort of started. Well, quote unquote grunge kind of started in the Seattle area with, you know, Melvins and Mudhoney and bands like that, and then Nirvana hits the scene and everything just blows up, and they, you know, drag everyone with them, I guess, to the top, because, you know, that's what's selling, so that's what the record labels want. And
they did, and
but you look though, because you've got Nirvana, that's more of the punk side of things, and then you look at Pearl Jam for 10, which is mostly classic rock. I mean, so much of it is very Jimi Hendrix influenced, and, well, musically anyway, guitar wise. So they're totally different. And then you look at Alice in Chains Alice in Chains and Soundgarden that are a little more of the metal side than the rock side. So they're because they came from relatively the same scene doesn't mean they're the same sound.
Absolutely. I'm talking about longevity though.
Oh.
I mean, I can go back and listen to Nevermind and I'll be like, okay, yeah. I can appreciate it. And there's some songs that just like don't really do it for me anymore. But I think 10 is just one of those albums that really stands the test of time. Mm-hmm. Like the recording and production and everything is definitely dated. But if you can get past that, the way the songs have been written are just, every song is powerful, and
they're all anthems, basically.
They are all anthems, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys though. When we go back to these kind of classic, not so much classic albums, but maybe like classic grunge albums, I have a tough time listening to the hits. On like when it comes up, I try to listen to it in its entirety as the way it was intended, but I just find that a lot of times I'm like, okay, yeah, I've heard this, like I know this song, and then I go to the next one. But I really dig all like the kind of the non-hit songs on the album again. You know? Mm-hmm. So, you know,
well, how does that translate though from 12-year-old you discovering 10 for the first time compared to 41-year-old you where you've listened to it a million times and the connections faded.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't have skipped those songs back when I was 14 or however old I was listening to this, right? Like I would have listened to it in its entirety, and that's great. That's how I would have known those, and I would have seen those videos on TV, and that would have been good. But yeah, you're right. Now I listen to it and I'm like, I got my fill. I guess, you listen to Zeppelin 4 and Stairway comes up and you're like, okay, that's cool. Like I've heard this song a bunch. Like I'm going to go to the next track, and I don't have 8 minutes to waste on this right now. So, next, yes. Right. But I'm not discounting it. It's still, great. Don't get me wrong. Even Flow, Alive, Jeremy, all great songs. But I just find when I jump back into this, I liked the B-sides or the not so release songs on
for
here.
Sure.
Yeah
I was never really the biggest Pearl Jam fan, and it's probably because I was a diehard Nirvana fan, and I think Kurt Cobain said some shit about or Pearl Jam, and I was like, yeah, me too.
He never liked Pearl Jam. So.
Yeah, and I hated Jeremy. I hated that single when it came out. And once I get past the first couple of verses, it's a good song. Mm-hmm. Like it's a 5-minute banger.
It's well written. Yes.
It's well written. Yeah, the first couple bars makes me kind of cringe because I think the video put me off or whatever. The video.
That's a big thing with videos too.
Yeah.
For, why they did only X amount of videos and shut it down. So
yeah,
it sort of screws up the your personal interpretation of it.
For sure. But I was surprised because I listened to Jeremy a couple of times and I was like, this is actually good. Like, what was my problem back in the day? Mm-hmm. And I think you have your idea of what you think is cool, and you sort of stand guard to that and look down at anything else which isn't what you think is cool. Mm-hmm. But I really did enjoy this entire album, and listening to it again, like I saw Pearl Jam touring for 10 when I was 12 years old.
Wicked.
And it was dope. It was like probably my second concert ever. And I remember just being completely blown away and like smelling weed for the first time. Like, oh my God, this is dangerous. And like, remember Eddie Vedder drinking wine on stage and just like talking about America, talking shit about America. And, but I think even after that experience, I still wasn't sold on the band. Yeah. I don't think I really got into them until, what was the next one? Versus?
Yeah.
That's my favorite one, man. Versus is my favorite.
Yeah. Versus is so good.
And I don't know, this album, 10 is fantastic, and it's got, I guess, more more like ballads, I guess, if you want to put it that way. You know what I mean? Like a couple more, like you think about like Black and Release, and like there's a few kind of, for lack of a better term, ballads, but you guys know what I mean, right? Versus kind of doesn't have as many of those, right? It's a little bit more, it kind of punches you in the mouth right off the bat and keeps going, right? And
well, they were definitely a different band.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
too. I mean, when you look
Absolutely.
at 10, and you know they recorded it 3 or 4 months after they became a band, and you know half of the songs were already written. Some of them were from Gossard, from leftovers from Green River.
Yeah.
And then you look at whatever might have been carried over from Mother Love Bone. So it's basically there. You just
and apparently
needed
some of them.
vocals.
Sorry, apparently some of them were even like just demos to because they were trying to find a new vocalist, obviously, and they just like a live. Apparently, it was like not really a fleshed out song.
Well, Footsteps, Once, and Alive were on that Mama Son tape that went to Eddie Vedder for his him to learn the songs and try and write something to. And from everything that I found, I mean, basically he whatever he wrote in that short amount of time and sent back to them was basically what they put on the album. Like they didn't change much.
Yeah.
So in such a short span. And then, you add another 2 or 3 years of touring and gigging and being together to put out verses, completely different band. So I can see that.
Yeah.
No, it builds. I find like this album, it just kind of does this a little bit, right? As far as like your emotions when you're listening to it. But I mean, there's some great guitar solos and some great guitar work on this album. When you listen to it, it feels like Mike McCready doesn't get a lot of credit, as much as he should, I guess, as being a really solid guitar player.
For all this lead stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's when you listen to it again and you just kind of single out the guitar work, it's solid. Like it's excellent.
Yeah. Well, I think it's some of my best or my favorite guitar tones of all time.
Yeah.
Like I like a lot of different guitar tones, but I keep going back to wanting that. It's just either a Marshall JCM 800 or a Marshall Super Lead, and mixing a Strat with a Les Paul, and it's the meat and potatoes, but it sounds so good. And, when you look at Mike McCready, when you break down his guitar solos, it's very Jimi Hendrix. Almost to a fault, but he does it so well that it's you're not wearing your influences on your sleeve, you're just doing it, kind of thing. So, but I've always loved that, and even today when I sit and try and write a solo, so much of that comes out just naturally because I've spent so much time with those influences. So I'll always love it.
Yeah.
Apparently, he thought he was ripping off Stevie Ray Vaughan, or he felt like he was very inspired by
taken from Hendrix for the most part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the track listings right now. I think Why Go is probably one of my favorites.
So good.
Yeah.
And the drums stand out in this
just talking
album,
about
right?
the
And they have
solos.
so many issues with drummers over the years and everything. And I read something funny too that I didn't know, but I guess they recently released Unplugged. They're Unplugged. And this was, I don't know where that was in the timeline of this, but I think it was pretty close to the release of.
It was about a year after. It was 92.
Okay. So, but that Dave Abruzzi was the guy who was playing drums on this, right? And they cut him out. They didn't include him. It was like a 5-shot thing and or 4-shot thing, and he didn't make the cut, right? So they interviewed him, and he was kind of like, whatever. He's like, I was on that album. I played on that album. I should be on that album, but whatever.
Is he on the cover giving a high five?
Oh, he should be.
Probably.
Yeah, should be. So, but yeah, no, and the drums stand out on this album too. They're solid. they're also good, right? And you talk about why go, that stands out as that drum intro is
for sure.
Yeah, it's good, and it's just funny how they had so many issues with drummers over so many years until Matt Cameron just righted the ship for him.
Exactly.
But none of their drummers were bad. They just didn't last.
Could be a chemistry thing, right? Because like you're working with these dudes, you're living and touring, and it could be a chemistry thing.
Drummers, you can't trust them, man. They're just
Stupid drummers.
Yeah. Can't be trusted.
What's a good drummer joke?
Hi, I'm the drummer for Pearl Jam. You're dumber than who?
Good one.
Boom, boom.
I always think.
Did you guys have this album on tape, or did you have it on CD?
Yes, I had both.
Yeah.
Didn't own.
You didn't own this?
Any of it? Nope.
Oh wow, that's a big middle finger to them.
I was like, they're fine, they're okay.
Even seeing them live when you did, you just didn't care enough to. Wow.
No, I mean, I had Alice in Chains, Dirt. I had, obviously Nevermind, and Stone Temple Pilots, Core. Those were those are my bands, my albums. And this one, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I was just like, no. Maybe because it had that classic rock edge to it, and it wasn't grunge enough for me.
Yeah, right.
Like thinking back, I just thought maybe it was a bit too polished, even though listening to it now, it doesn't seem polished, but it seems very raw.
Yeah. Well, it's super raw, but the production is over polished, and I think this is one of those albums.
True.
This is one of those albums that the band always hated, either the mix of, or it was, it's not their favorite. And you look at all the music critics, and it's not their favorite album, but the fans love it. And there's far too much reverb on it, but I've always liked it. I don't know why, and they've always hated it. So,
yeah,
is that what you were talking about, Dane, about the outdated recording?
Yeah. The fucking reverb makes it sound like it's. I mean, the thing is 30 years old, no?
Yeah,
but it makes it sound like it's 50 years old to me. It just sounds like It sounds like they all sound like B-sides to me, like some weird bootleg something or other.
Right.
The mixing's all whack. But I mean, that's a lot of people say this is one of the best albums ever produced. So
this is a Brendan O'Brien album, correct?
I think so.
No. As for producer, this is what's his face? Or am I?
Insert wait music here.
Yeah.
As your hosts do their research on who recorded this album or who produced this album.
Rick Parsher.
Intermission.
I do not know.
Him and his brother, they did they did 10. I think they did. Here, let's see here. Probably not saying his name right, but
Temple of a Dog, 10, Sap, Alice in Chains, Sap.
Alice in Chains.
He did Blind Melon.
Yeah, they were at Nickelback, Silver Side Up.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this dude was like the grunge man. Fortunately, passed away in 2014 at age 50.
Crazy,
but I've never heard of this dude either until today.
Never.
Yeah.
I've seen his picture before in documentaries, but I did not remember her name.
That's a dude.
Yeah, Rakesh, his name. Rakesh.
Rakesh.
Born in Seattle. Yeah, some big albums on there too. Interesting.
He even played on. He was on 10. I think he played some piano or something.
Huh.
But yeah.
Oh, it's Versus. That's Brendan O'Brien. So that I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. So you were talking about earlier about how it's such a different album. I mean, you got a different producer too. It's totally different as well, right?
Massive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the first time you heard Versus? That opening track? Did it just blow your little mind? It was really different. It was Pearl Jam, but it was, and like the rest of the album like really changes over the next couple of tracks. But that really first aggressive, what's the name
Go.
of it? Animals? No. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that for the first time. I'm like, wow.
So did you eventually gain more respect for this band as the albums went on? Like, because I mean, things kind of get a little bit deeper as you get into Vitology and like stuff like that.
I think, Vitology was a mixed bag. Like, Versus was great. Like, I think that's what really sort of, captured my interest a little bit. And then Vitology came out, and I was like, yeah, maybe. And then after that, I can't even name an album after that. So
there's some good ones. I didn't listen to all of them or own all of them, but like I had Backspacer. Backspacer was pretty good.
Yep.
And there's another one too that's fairly recent that came out that was pretty good too. But like even there was stuff off of Yield that was good. I liked stuff off of
Yield was good, man. I remember when they put that out, and on the radio station they used to have a album release, where they played it.
I love those.
In its entirety the day that it came out, and I just remember recording that and just dubbing it off the radio and listening to that for months until I could afford to buy it, kind of thing. But
I was working at the record store.
Vitology was great. No Code was great.
And I had I found out that Walmart was selling Yield early. They had it because we used to get the CDs early, and then you did have to like wait to put them out right to the release date. But nobody at Walmart really cares, so they just put it out. So I got Yield like 2 weeks early, and it was a big deal back then. Oh yeah,
really?
This illegal copy of Yield floating around for 2 weeks. It was cool, and then everybody had it. So it didn't matter. But No Code was good too. I enjoyed No Code. And then after that, I there's a couple that I dropped off on. Riot Act, Lightning Bolt. I didn't listen to those. But.
Well, so much of that after No Code, basically everything after that was very very Neil Young influenced, where you could tell the Eddie Vedder's style changed so much that you could tell that Neil Young was a massive influence on him.
Oh, that Avocado album was good too, man. That one was that there was that I think it was self-titled, but it was like 2000 and
self-titled 2006.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah,
I bought that in a pawn shop. I remember. They're an amazing band that way, right? To be able to, they're kind of like maybe one of the first bands that we've had from our era that is like a true legacy act now. It feels like, other than like maybe Radiohead and, there's a few more in there too, but they'll keep doing this for a while, I think, and it's amazing that they've lasted through all of the sex, drugs, rock and roll lifestyle that we keep hearing about and keep reading about in all these books and biographies, and for them to still be able to keep their marriages together and their kids together and everything is kind of an amazing feat. And, even through Addiction with Mike McCready and other members of the band, like there's been things that they've gone through, but it's amazing that they've kept this going for a long time. And don't really show any signs of stopping, No,
when they're still selling out, giant arenas, and their fans are following them around like they're the Grateful Dead, and it's that big of a fan base where it's a whole life thing. It's not just I like this song. Yeah. So I think that's massive, and really they're the only band out of the grunge era, or of that the top five, I guess, the main five that are still around.
True.
And
that
still
everyone's
pushing.
still alive.
Exactly. They're still alive. They're still pushing. They're still putting out albums. They're still touring. So, I mean, it's quite the trip for them. So,
yeah, they definitely have got something. They're doing something right. Like, it might not be as concentrated and as immediate as some of the other sort of bands of the era, like Alice in Chains or Nirvana, but like they definitely have longevity behind them.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how they've sort of navigated, like, you know, coming out of grunge and then now, you know, still being relevant. What really surprised me was, and I'm not sure if these are bootlegs, but I think between like a very short amount of time, they released something like hundreds of live albums.
Yeah, there are hundreds of the bootlegs that they released themselves.
They released the bootleg, so that's what happened,
so that
right?
was, you know, they're cutting out the middleman, but and they did it for everything for, you know, probably since, I don't know, 2000 at least, maybe even from Yield days.
So that's a testament to the fact that like they got a fan base and they give the fan base what they want, right?
Yeah.
Which is really, I think, rare.
Yeah.
You got record companies that sort of push bands in a certain direction, especially coming out of the 90s, right? I think a lot of those bands didn't survive because, well, I mean, the lifestyle first and foremost, but, you know, you see other bands that sort of petered out, but I think Pearl Jam, like I said before, they navigated it quite well.
Well, they grew with their fans too, was a big thing.
Yeah.
When you look at a lot of these bands in any genre, when it gets to a certain point that their fans start outgrowing them, if you're not rolling with it, or if they're not growing with you, you're done.
And that's the thing, though. Like they haven't really come out with a, you know, big song or big album that to really kind of hook you again and to get all those younger fans. But it's because of this.
That's not what they're about.
Exactly right. And that's just it's amazing how they can just kind of keep plugging along now because people will still go and see them, even if they don't have a new hit song out, right? They just want to go.
Yeah.
They just want to go and they want to see Jeremy. Yeah. They want to see those songs, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And going with that, I mean their live album, Live on Two Legs, it's still something I visit frequently.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're definitely a band that'll will always live on with me, and hopefully they'll you know, carry on to next couple generations and you know, influence a whole nother group and you know, be like a Led Zeppelin or that sort of upper echelon of will always be their bands. So
yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It is the only band out of those big ones that we kind of have been talking about through this episode that are still standing and still have members that are alive, right?
Really, besides the Melvins. The Melvins are still hitting it, but
everybody else, STP, Soundgarden, Nirvana, all of these, right? So it's
it's crazy.
It's amazing that they're still
crazy.
Here, but yeah, it's good pick.
I think that's what made the music, you know, appealing, was because it seemed a little bit dangerous. Like, just to throw this in here, I was sort of thinking about like what is the red thread or the thing that really sort of like makes all of these bands somewhat legitimate within this genre. And I think when you're coming out of hair metal and you're talking about chicks and cars and shit like that, these guys are, again, like we kind of touched upon this with the Soundgarden episode. It's like it's real emotion, it's real lyrics, it's real music. And you know, I think that stands for something that was really innovative and different back then. And I'm trying to figure out like what is grunge and what is this, like, you know, a period of music that we're all, you know, talking about and trying to define. I think it's just like an honest take on this art form, right?
Yep. Just very pure. You go from a lot of the phoniness and mass production at the end of hair
misogynist boner music, and then
then you get to the point where it's like, okay, now something real is happening for a blip in time, and it touched enough people that it had meaning and can live on now. So.
Yeah, it's a natural progression too, right? It's got to blow up at some point. Yeah. That's not going to, you know, poison is not going to live forever. So what's the next thing, right? And this was it.
Yeah.
So
can't always be Winger.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But good pick. Excellent choice, Michael. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good one.
Awesome.
Right on.
All right. We want you guys to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. Keep it going. Keep it strong, because we're having a great time entertaining you guys with B-sides and beers. podcast.